All right, so tonight I plan to just take questions, so think deeply, and I want to see what kind of questions. Maybe a new guy, Mr. Lin, has an interesting question. I don't know. We'll see, but I will wait.
No questions now.
Mr. Kaufman, get us started.
Really? Can you hear me, Shifu?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. I have a question. In a few classes, you mentioned the feeling of oneness. And I was wondering if you can elaborate more on that. How does it feel if, of course, it can be put in words? Or is it a different feeling from one person to another?
Okay. So I have a question for you. Tell me how chocolate tastes. I never had chocolate. How does it taste?
So it's an individual feeling, I understand. It's an individual experience, let's put it this way. Maybe a better word.
There's probably a consistency, a similarity, but we can't tell each other, right? And there will be differences too, because you have your own individual perspective and feeling. I mean, just think of somebody who doesn't have a good sense of smell. Chocolate's not going to taste the same as somebody who has a strong sense of smell, right? The only way to really understand the taste of chocolate is to put the chocolate in your mouth. And you pay attention to that. Really pay attention. We tend to eat things in a way that really doesn't have any respect for the food whatsoever. We don't really have any sort of, we can raise our consciousness with a sense of reverence for more things. The gratitude, the feeling like everything is, it's like people in religion, like Christian religion, like to say grace, for example, giving thanks. It's bringing more mindfulness to the food. When I trained with Native American systems, there was always this big Thanksgiving. I don't mean the date. I mean for every meal, you give thanks and you recognize the sun and the wind and the water and how it fed the crops and how the crops were eaten by the animal. If we're eating an animal now, it's like the whole process, and you become mindful of that whole process. So that's why gratitude becomes a natural habit, right? How many things do you eat that you're in a hurry and you're doing something else? You're watching TV or you're busy doing something else. Whatever it is, you're not actually tasting your food. I mean, I can't tell you how many clients in my, patients in the clinic that I've had to say, the Taoist teaching that I learned about, chew every bite 49 times. Chew every bite 49 times. This is teaching appreciation, it's teaching awareness, and it's also good for your digestion. It's about really living in the moment. Which is why you couldn't possibly tell me what chocolate tastes like, because you're right, it has a certain way you see it, a certain way I see it. Somebody could be very descriptive. You could read it in a book, and they can be very descriptive, but you still don't know until you actually taste it yourself. And that's what I'm getting at right now. First is, do you really taste? How much real attention, how much real mindfulness do you put into that, whatever food it is? So, Bagua Zhang is an art form that we embody, and the ultimate goal is that experience of oneness. That's why the Bagua family, generation to generation, they saw it as a gift to the world. The problem is, like the chocolate or like the food, so few people taste even what they're actually eating. So few people will actually put the time in to experience what Bagua can do. So no, you're right, I couldn't possibly do it justice, and there's going to be a little variation, but when I've spoken to people, all different parts of the world, even different practices, oneness is oneness. It's like you see eye to eye, you understand each other. There's no, oh, we do it this way, we do it. It doesn't matter. You know, you think about, yeah, so this looks like the sun, but this is one point to get to. This could be all different religions. This could be all different techniques. This could be all different beliefs, cultures, whatever. Same place to get to. The question is, how good a path is this? Some paths are much more difficult than others. Some are more direct. And difficult doesn't mean just time. Bagua Zhang is not easy. But it's not limited to the mastery level. Practice with absolute, full engagement, not being concerned with what's next, what else you can do. What's next, what else, what am I learning, techniques, this is why my teacher used to talk about, and I know this is not offending anybody, this is a philosophy, this is an idea, okay? So there are students and there are customers. Customers think about what they can get, how fast they can get it. They worry about money. They worry about the time that they're getting. They worry about what they're getting, not what they're giving. And what I mean by giving is it's really to yourself. The full commitment to fully engage in the practice instead of relying on your teacher to be there all the time and giving you more stuff. The true students, I'll tell a quick story of Lu Shuitian, my grand teacher, right? My teacher's teacher. So in the old China, in the middle, in the 30s, 1930s, 1920s, his teacher was a 3-day ride on horseback. You know how hard that is? Can you even imagine? I don't. I never did that. 3-day ride on horseback. And then he'd practice with his teacher for a while. And then he'd 3-day horseback back home. And then he'd practice, maybe for a year's time. It's like the true student is really trying to get the skill. And the highest level skill, you could be focused on fighting and killing and all that. But the highest level skill is you blend in with the training. There is no fight. There is no you. There is no opponent. There's just energy. That's why it doesn't matter if you're fighting or sitting on a cushion meditating. The mastery mind is in a meditation, connected to the oneness. Somebody upsets you, somebody, on the road cuts you off, we get angry or we get fearful. As you master yourself more and more, you recognize the shift in emotion and you find your way back to your connection to the divine. Knowing that so much of this is an illusion. And that's not saying it's not real. It's saying that everyone in this meeting right now, we see the world differently. Who's right? How can you say it's not an illusion when we all see it differently based on our perspective, based on our filters, based on our upbringing, based on our background? If we can learn to connect to the oneness, if we can learn to realize the connection to the oneness, because you can't disconnect. There's one. There's no separation except in our minds. Then when you see the illusion of separation, let's say in people, you see a spark of the divine. Knowing that they're all different angles, different perspectives, different cultures, different races, different religions, different beliefs. And the best of us, listen. Oh, let's go back to the chocolate. I don't know what it tastes like to you, right? But one thing I could say about oneness is the ultimate peace. It's the sense of no matter what, everything's going to be okay. And accept this or not. This is my perspective, my experience. That includes losing this physical body. Okay? Because there is no death. You can believe that or not. But when you understand the oneness, you just continue. It's like a drop of water going back to the ocean. Going back to the source. So what is there to be afraid of? We don't want to suffer. We don't want to starve. We don't want to hurt. We don't want to burn. We don't want pain. Nobody wants that. But no matter what, it's all going to be okay. And I think that's a realization that if more people had it, there would simply be more peace. Because the variety is just an illusion based on the taste you had of life, the perspective you had of life. Somebody comes up with a wonderful mother and father, someone comes up with no father, someone comes up with abusive parents, someone comes up with divorced parents, someone comes up with abusive siblings, someone comes up with a neighbor who makes problems, someone comes up with amazing friends that are so supportive. How can we possibly expect to be the same? This is the beauty of the world. This is the beauty of life, to listen. Try to understand. Nobody's better, nobody's worse, except in our delusions. We are all, if there's one, there's no beyond one. The separation is the illusion. In Christianity, that would be the original sin. Is that true in the Jewish religion? You don't have original sin? Yeah, yes you do. It's in Genesis.
What's the original sin in Genesis?
The original sin is believing is when Adam and Eve became conscious of their naked bodies. They were in the Garden of Eden.
Right.
This is a wonderful mythology, wonderful story from the Bible. They're in the Garden of Eden. They have everything they need. And if God says, don't do what? Don't go to there's a forbidden something, right?
Fruit.
It was just just the apple?
Yeah.
That was all? Wasn't a place? Okay, so exactly. So he eats the apple, right? Blames the woman. The woman gave him the apple. But you blame the devil because the devil talked the women into it, right? Anyway, this is just information coming from the illusion where all of a sudden ate he did what he wasn't supposed to do, and believed he was separate from God. Now all of a sudden they're shamed, they're naked. They realize they're naked, whereas before that they didn't even know. Yeah, this is the original sin. This isn't. That's a perspective on the allegory of the stories, right? Yeah, I forget. Many years, decades ago, I studied this stuff, and it's Taoism. You see, that's why I drew this. There's one truth. How hard is your path to get there? We're all connected to the one truth, and we'll just say this is the oneness. Now, in reality, it's not little in the middle. These are like paths to the top of the mountain. But oneness is infinite, encompasses all. But that's the point. So our practice, a physical practice, a body-mind training, to learn to continue to be fully engaged, so everything you do is meditation. You're not supposed to have all these negative emotions. If you know you're part of the divine, what is there to worry about? What is there to be angry about? What is there to fear? So again, I say the shame, they're naked. How come all of a sudden they knew they were naked? It's a powerful concept. Nothing really changed but their way of seeing it. Yes, Miss Beaumont.
So I understand the concept. I think I might have felt oneness on occasion, but
I'm sure everybody has.
but when I meditate, my mind is all over the place, and I bring it back, but it's constantly going off and bringing it back, going off. I have trouble sitting still. Sitting my mind still. And I know you've talked about it a lot, but I'm still having trouble.
You're weird.
I'm weird?
You're the only one that has a problem with that.
You're right.
Everybody else. Yeah, we've always said that from day one. It's the hardest thing we do.
Yeah.
Punching, kicking, stance 3. Meditation is the hardest thing we do. You can't shut off your brain, but you can experience quiet, like you just described. Then you have to come back, right? When I bring us to meditation later, it's always decide on a focal point. And if the mind wanders, come back to your focal point. And the mind wanders and come back to your focal point. So I want to remind everyone, okay? The focal point is your training wheels. If you can't let go of the focal point and just, it's like being in a deep sleep, but you're not, because you're conscious. You're just not labeling, judging, you're not thinking. So you can expand the time of that. My personal description would be like a stump in the woods, right? You're just there. You just exist. There's just an awareness. But the moment you know you're aware, you're already thinking. It's a very subtle shift. So you realize you lost it, come back. Use your focal point. It could be your breath. It could be a visualization. Whatever you need. You get your mind so you're in control. And then again, sometimes you go into it. You can go into it in space. It's like going into this, like a depth, right? In your mind, just depth. And it just becomes quiet, and then you lose track. And there's no, okay, the better you get, the faster time will go without you noticing it. Hard to judge during. Because you just be. It's like 10 seconds goes by, like, wow, that was really good. It must have been like an hour. And no time went by. Yeah, because it's almost like you fell asleep for a moment, right? But then you have the real experience where it feels like 5 or 10 minutes and an hour really did go by. That's a good experience, you know. That's That's like a good night's sleep where you fall asleep, you wake up, and it's like, wow, it went so fast, right? So you went very deep in that sleep. That's the best kind of sleep. You don't even know dreams or anything. Just wake up, refresh, everything's wonderful. But you don't have any consciousness when you're sleeping. Meditation, you have consciousness. You're training your mind. But it's very, very difficult. And day to day is different. Day to day is different. You know, you have a bad day, good day, whatever. Lack of sleep, dietary changes, something in the food. Circulation is so important, I have to say. When the circulation's good also, you have to realize brain cells use 12 times the oxygen of other cells in the body. So if you're not properly oxygenating and you don't have good circulation to the brain, you're going to have these random electrical pulses. It's like firing, almost like static. And it's just really difficult. That's why I know when I feel a pulse, I know someone can't sleep. I know they're anxious. I know they can't concentrate. Because I know what organs are affected and what affects the brain. So it's very, once you know how to do that, it's actually pretty simple to predict what's wrong. Tell somebody what's wrong. But it really comes down to blood flow and oxygenation. Now, oxygenation, which is why, again, the closer you get to the oneness, the closer you get to all your practice is meditation, the closer you get to 24/7 practice. 24/7 practice means fully engaged in your life, right? Fully engaged in this moment, what you're doing. When you're like that, your body's more relaxed. When your body's more relaxed, the vessels expand and you're going to get much better blood flow, much better oxygenation, much better health. So now we can compare the oneness, right? The connection to the source, all that is, and the illusion of separation. That's why the closer we get to the Tao, is another way to put it, the quieter everything is and the more fully in the moment you are. And the further away you get, the noisier it is. Much bigger, much noisier. And that's where you will create with your thinking, like kinks in the hose in your circulation, right? Blockages of circulation, tension, vessels that are supposed to open like this are just like barely opening or worse, right? And anything that lacks some blood flow, qi and blood, is going to age and negatively impact the cells that are there, right? It's just that part of the body is going to have a problem. It's going to degenerate faster. So when you say you have such a hard time quieting your mind, all I can say is, 1, practice more. 2, before you try to practice meditation, go through the warm-up, go through some qigong, get yourself engaged in a physical practice with your body. And then, ideally, do some breathing exercise. We do some breathing, right? Maybe filling, but you cleansing, filling. We have the breathing exercise. And then you start to go to meditation and you decide on a focal point. And then just keep doing that in and out. Like you said, you lose track, but if you consistently practice, and someone who really wants to get meditation needs to do a minimum 30 minutes twice a day. That's a minimum, okay? If you really want to get it, this is what I mean. Student, customer. I just want to buy stuff like I have it, or I actually want to get it. I want to be it. I want to live it. Just for example, I always saw my teacher like a father. It's family. It's family. It's like just like blood. We have that sign in the school. It talks about that. Brothers and siblings. Students are siblings. The teacher-student relationship is like parent-child. It's that feeling. That's a student. Where the customer is more like, buying stuff. Oh, give me this technique, it's a cool technique, and get them excited. And then that's business and, different mindset. The practitioner, the teacher says 30 minutes twice a day. You really want to get it. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 30 minutes twice a day. I don't think all the other stuff. Because that relationship, the teacher, see, a good parent knows how to lead the child, knows how to lead, and child in martial arts is simply experience. Like, I have students 60s, 70s, right? Some of you here older than me. It's nothing to do with that. It's this experience in the martial art. Just like any student who came before you is like big brother or sister. You know, it's like they just came before you. They're born before. Even twins, one's born early. Oh, that's the big brother. That's the mind in the martial arts, right? So none of that matters except for experience. So the good parent knows how to lead the child so they have a better path. And it has to be the right time for the right information so you can make progress. This is probably one of the best gifts I learned from my teacher. And there's been multiple traditional teachers that I see. Student has to do the work. The student has to do the work so that you can give the next answer. Let me put it this way. My teacher put it this way. If I try to give you information, this is him talking to me. If I try to give you information before you're ready, we could talk for 2 hours and you still don't get it. If I want to give you information and you're ready, 5 minutes, you got it, and you might even realize more than before, you know, more than I'm teaching you. Like I tell you one, you know two. It's like that concept that you use, it lights up more because you're ready for the information. Otherwise, it's like trying to hammer stuff in. It just doesn't happen. You don't get it. If you try to get things intellectually, Bagua is a thinking person's art, but your body and mind have to be at the level of the intellectual part to understand it. It's not memorization. So that's why the good parent knows how to lead the child. I love the Japanese term sensei. Last week we talked about elders, right? If you're willing to sit down and listen to an elder, they could probably give you guidance that will change your whole world because they've been there before, rather than constantly reinventing the wheel. So the student has that patience, like we said. How long does it take, right? It takes how long it takes. The teacher can't just give you just because you're paying money, for example. That's what I mean by customer versus student. The teacher has to give when it makes sense. And this was the gift I got from my teacher was, you don't take the information and hand it to people. You have to digest it. Like, I had to do the work. I have to understand it, or I can't help you much. I can't give you what I don't have. If I'm passing it from my teacher, then I'm useless. And I took that to heart. I took it very seriously. So sometimes the person feels, you know, they're maybe not getting enough attention or not whatever. I promise you, I'm always watching. Sometimes I do this too. Not with the name there. They think I'm not there. It's funny. I play that game. I got 2 screens, so I'm watching everybody, right? But somebody's here. But what I'm saying is, I'm watching what I think you need. Sometimes it's something to help you not get hurt. Sometimes it's something obviously to help you get stronger, help you get more balance easier, something like that. I'm watching. Just the last class we were talking about someone had a back problem. Somebody, and that person's here, but I don't have to tell everybody. And it's like I watch how they move because they told me they hurt themselves doing something. So then I watch them do that. It's like, oh, they do 2 reps and I know exactly what's going on. Oh, I see why you're hurting your back, right? And students who have been with us the longest, it's like, how do I know these things? Because I messed myself up so many times with the same things. I hurt myself this way, that way, and the other way, right? So then I try to help students avoid that path. I fell in the potholes. So like, don't go that way. It's not the best way. So I try to help people that way, right? But the right information at the right time. Now, back to your question. You just, as you do this, lose track, come back to your focal point, lose track, come back, and you spend the time, if you're serious, 30 minutes twice a day, then what's going to happen is you're going to see that you're going to be able to spend more time on the focal point. It will get easier to be on the focal point. You're exercising just like any muscle, right? If you do more, it gets stronger. You need to increase the weight. You have to increase the time in meditation to really get meditation. The people who think they can just go to meditation and do 5 minutes and they relax and they feel better and they're more productive, this is superficial meditation. This is not meditation. Meditation will absolutely change your world if it's done right. And I know people who've trained decades in meditation and said, I didn't get anything out of it. I'm not doing that anymore. Sorry. You'll never stop me. Because that's why I said, no matter how bad everything gets, and who knows in the world, right? In my heart, it's going to be okay. I don't know if my body's going to make it. I don't know if something's going to happen, right? But we shouldn't be afraid of physically dying. Nobody wants pain. Nobody wants suffering. I'm saying, leaving this world. If you have that connection to the divine, you don't worry about that. And let's just say, for example, I'm wrong. Because I have a really good friend says, you die, everything's black, that's it. You don't know nothing, you're gone. Okay. I still feel better about my time here. I'm not stressed about things I can't do anything about, right? Does that make sense? If you think like that, there's no, I only can do what I can do. This is the Taoist approach. No attachments. You don't try to control what you can't control. You go with the flow. You accept what is. You don't judge. And you take things as they come, meaning you can worry about something that never happened, or you can deal with something that actually happened. Another question. Is that a hand up, Chapter Savelli, or are you blocking the sun? Okay, go ahead.
I have a question, Shifu. So
Yes.
very recently, I was listening to a webinar that was dedicated to a problem of a burnout. So what can you say about it?
Burnout, interesting question. Actually, what I was just talking about, I'm going to say links to that directly, because burnout is going to come from a lot of judgment and worry and fear and using energy that's unnecessary.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about medical practice?
Yes, big part
Okay, good, because that's what I want to answer. Okay, so, I'm sorry?
professional burnout, mostly medical stuff, of course.
Yeah, okay. You want to know the secret? Stop talking to your patients so much.
Oh, I am talking constantly.
Sorry?
I'm talking to them constantly. That's my problem.
Well, I'm telling you straight out from my teacher. That's what he said. Dr. Tan, did you ever know him? Meet him? Heard of him?
Richard,
Okay. Richard Tan, yeah, he's gone now. But amazing human being, just a lot of very Taoist ways. And yeah, he said, stop talking to your patients so much. You know, you want to be nice to them, but you don't need to be like, right? You get so caught up in their troubles that it's sucking your energy. And he says, and they don't want to talk to you as much as you think. You're trying to be personable, but they just want to be treated. They want to get well. So if they're coming to you and they feel better when they leave, just bring them in and treat them. Come in, there's your table, walk out, let them relax. Now you're not spending so much energy. I mean, he was amazing. He could see 8 to 10 people an hour easily. Bing, 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 bing. When you meet them, you have to talk to them. Sometimes you have to do a reevaluation. Those are scheduled times to talk to them. But if every patient, every day, you talk, make sense?
I see. Thank you, Shifu.
And it's a hard transition.
It is.
But you shoot, you're a little small talk, but your goal is to get them to turn out the lights and walk out. How quick can you do that? Because then they're going to feel better. And they're going to leave, and they're going to feel good, and they're going to want to come back. And then you're not spending so much energy.
It's a great advice, but sometimes they initiate the talk.
Then the other part of that is you have to be what I was just talking about. You have to be, you have to be centered. You have to be grounded. This is why Bagua Zhang is so powerful. Tai Chi is the same, meditation. So, yeah, that concept, yoga, that concept, right? I'm biased because Bagua I think is just wonderful. It incorporates so much. If you practice and improve yourself and you develop that connection we were talking about, now you're centered. You don't have to get into their world so much with the emotional part. Oh, you say something interesting based on what they said and still your goal is to get out of the room so they can relax. Don't forget, you created that habit. They come to you expecting to talk. And that's another thing I learned. You're not their therapist. You know how many people want me to be their therapist? All I can do is come from a Taoist perspective with this non-attachment, like I'm talking here. But I'm not a trained therapist. I'm not supposed to be figuring out their problems. I need to get them well so that their problems become smaller. Their threshold of stress goes up so they can make better decisions with more clarity. So the best service I can provide is to make them well. But yeah, yourself, you have to master yourself, and then you can help the patient that much more. Make sense? Okay, I hope that's helpful. Mr. Coburn, you had a question? You have to unmute yourself, sir. It's not working.
Can you hear?
Yes.
I just wanted to tell you that there's an interpretation of that biblical story, of the allegory about Adam and Eve, that supports what you're saying. There's an understanding that the Hebrew word for naked also means cunning. So the real sin was that they were deceiving themselves and creating like a false reality for themselves, that they had the right to do anything they wanted. So I'm just saying that there's a very solid perspective that aligns with exactly your point of view about where they got off track.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah, I know you're very educated that way. Thank you. Appreciate that. Anybody else? Mr. Lin, how we doing? Are we blowing you away today? You ever been in any kind of class like this?
No, actually I have when I was younger, and I got a good piece of advice, and it's helpful. Before the meditation, or even before things that, personal, something that you want more meaningful, whatever it may be, have a little tablet, write down the things that you need to remember after the meditation. That way I'll keep the medication more separate and more solid. You were saying you have a lot of thoughts in your head during the meditation, and it's hard to relax, and you're always, whatever, work, friends, family. With that done with, I found that really helpful. I look at it as my cheat sheet. I'm not as smart as you guys, so I need a little crutch, and I found it helpful. That's all.
How do you know? You just met us. You could be much smarter. Now that's excellent advice. I've done that. It really works. It's consistent with the concept sleep on it, right? Like just drop it, let it go to sleep, and in the morning maybe you'll have clarity, right?
Yeah.
Instead of overthinking it. So you're kind of letting it go by writing it down so you don't have to keep thinking about it. You could get back to it. So that way you don't forget it, right? That's great advice. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right, we are going to go to meditation now. So find a comfortable position. Ideally back straight. Just real quick, because Mr. Lin is new. So ideally, you want to sit on the edge of a chair and you don't want any support. That's ideal, okay?
Okay.
But you can meditate on your back, and sleeping, whatever. But if you fall asleep, you're not really meditating now. So when you hold your posture upright, it raises the spirit and helps the meditation. And also helps keep you awake. So your posture can make a difference. It makes a big difference if you train that way. More proper meditation. Okay, so sit comfortably, align yourself as if to hold up the sky. And settle, relax, while maintaining the alignment. Decide on a focal point. And then gaze to the point between the eyebrows while watching the breath. Or any focal point of your choosing. But stay with one. If the mind wanders, come back to your focal point. Wanders again, simply bring it back. Keep a passive attitude. No judgment about how you're doing. Simply practice. You have no place to go. No one calling for you. No one to answer to. All there is here. And now.